What is this? This is my seat. Ever since we were kids, my brother and I have been super close. But at his wedding, I ended up sitting at a tiny table all by myself, away from the rest of the family. Even the quality of the meal was notably downgraded. This must be the work of my brother's wife, who has belittled me behind my doctor brother's back. It was easy to imagine her doing this as she approached in her wedding dress, laughing through her nose and saying, "One seat is just right for someone who didn't go to high school like you, huh?" What? Despite my stunned brother, his wife continued with a half smile. To begin with, having someone like you in the family is embarrassing. You should be grateful that I even prepared a seat. I had reached my limit of patience. I absolutely had to say something. Just as I was about to stand up and speak, someone called out to me. "Oh. Could you be?" Following this, the foolish sister-in-law would plummet straight into hell. My name is Emma Foster. I'm a 29-year-old nurse with no boyfriend. Recently, I've taken up the popular hobbies of mountaineering and solo camping. On my days off, I often go mountain climbing alone. Although I now lead a peaceful life, I have a painful past. My family consisted of my dad, a doctor running a small clinic in the countryside, my mom, a nurse working at the same clinic, and my older brother, John. We had a peaceful life until my parents met with a tragic accident when I was in elementary school and died. Afterward, my brother and I were taken in by paternal relatives, who treated us coldly. It was as if they had taken us in only for our parents' inheritance. And my brother and I were always treated like nuisances. Unlike me, my brother John was patient and kind, and he was intellectually gifted. Emma. I will become a doctor like Dad. Then I'll become a nurse like Mom. As elementary and middle school siblings, we made such promises to support each other. When I was in my second year of middle school, and my brother was in his final year of high school, he wanted to go to medical school. However, our relatives flatly refused, saying, "We don't have the money for that." Despite my brother's desperate pleas, they were reluctant because we still have to send Emma to high school. That's when I said, "I won't go to high school. I'll work as soon as I graduate from middle school. Please use the money for my brother instead." Both my brother and our relatives were shocked by this. Especially my brother, who even said he would give up on medical school rather than make me suffer. However, my determination was firm, and I eventually convinced them to pay for his tuition. Emma. I'm truly sorry. I don't know how to apologize. To my apologetic brother, I brightly said, "It's okay. Apparently, I can still aim to be a nurse even if I'm a middle school graduate. Brother, please become a great doctor. I'm rooting for you." Thus, my brother went on to a prestigious medical school, and I started working live-in at an inn. I saved money and became a licensed practical nurse. Later, while working, I entered a part-time nursing school and finally became a registered nurse at the age of 24. Meanwhile, my brother graduated from university, obtained his medical license, and fulfilled his dream of becoming a doctor. I started working at a small women's clinic, and my brother began working as a surgeon at a major hospital. Even after we both started our careers, we would meet regularly, have meals, and update each other on our lives. I am now 29, and my brother is 33. We are both adults, but our sibling bond remains strong. One day, as we were having our usual meal together, my brother suddenly said, "There's someone I want to marry." "Ah, John, you're getting married." Congratulations. I was as delighted as if it were my own affair. Especially since my brother had never been involved in any romantic rumors before. His fiancée worked in medical administration at his hospital. Will you meet her next time? He asked, and I eagerly replied. Of course. On the day we were to meet his fiancée, they arrived a little late. Emma, this is Kim Anderson. Kim, this is my sister Emma. My brother introduced us, and we greeted each other. His fiancée, Kim, had a flashier appearance than I imagined. Very much the epitome of a modern woman. Emma, I've heard so much about you from John. And have been looking forward to meeting you. Kim said this with a glowing face. Though she seemed a bit overly familiar for a first meeting, I didn't find it too off-putting. Afterwards, they happily shared the story of how they met. It seems Kim was the one who aggressively pursued my brother. I thought, I think someone as confident as her could be just what my quiet brother needs. Seeing my brother's happy face, I thought this. As our meal progressed, my brother's phone rang. Sorry, there's an emergency patient. I have to go. The food will still come, can you two continue eating? That's okay. Go and do your best. I replied, and Kim nodded. As my brother left first, I started eating the meal with some tension, and then Kim suddenly asked. So Emma, which university did you graduate from? Being a doctor's sister, you must have graduated from a prestigious university. Ah. I didn't even go to high school, let alone university. I answered with a wry smile, and Kim's face clouded over. Huh. That means? It was due to family circumstances and it couldn't be helped. I'm working as a nurse now and have no regrets. So, basically you're just a dropout who didn't go to high school? What? I was taken aback and glanced up. The nice smile she wore around my brother had vanished, and she now looked super judgmental. A dropout, I do see what you're trying to say. But I did go to vocational school afterwards. Then Kim sighed heavily. If you didn't even go to high school, that's the same as being a dropout. Ah, it's so embarrassing to marry into a family of doctors. And have a dropout as a relative. What? And you're just a nurse? Unlike your brother, you're a failure, aren't you? I take pride in my job as a nurse. Ha! Pride in a job that anyone can do, that's dirty and smelly? Don't make me laugh. Kim had fully revealed her true colors. I responded, confused. Do you really dislike me that much? Huh? Of course, I do. No one likes their sister-in-law right from the start. And honestly, it's super annoying to think that a failure like you is part of our family. I'll tell my brother about this. I was trembling with anger, but Kim just sneered. Oh, he won't believe you. He's smitten with me. Plus, you have the nerve to ruin your brother's happiness. I was at a loss for words. Indeed, my brother had looked happier than I had ever seen before. I couldn't disturb the happiness he had finally found through so much struggle. Kim smiled triumphantly as I remained silent. Just stay out of our way, little sister. By then. Left alone, all I could do was silently bite my lip. From then on, whenever I had a meal with my brother, Kim was always there. She behaved sweetly in front of my brother and seemed friendly towards me. However, as soon as he was gone, she would immediately start harassing me. Hey dropout, how much was your salary last month? Stop mooching off your brother just because you're broke. What's it like being a dropout? You missed out on a proper high school experience, right? I couldn't stand such a lonely life. Kim would casually throw these comments at me in front of my brother. I had to pretend to have a good relationship with her. But in reality, it was quite exhausting. Feeling frustrated about Kim, I spontaneously decided one weekend. I thought, that's right, I haven't gone hiking for a while. Maybe it will refresh me. So, I decided to go hiking in the mountains the next day. Wanting to be alone with my thoughts, I chose a lesser-known mountain with relatively few hikers and started climbing early in the morning. As I walked silently through the mountain, my mind cleared. Breathing in the fresh mountain air, touching the plants, and hearing the birds sing, my spirit was cleansed. About halfway up the mountain, I suddenly heard a groaning sound from somewhere. However, looking around, there was no one in sight. Thinking the worst, I peered down into the ravine below the slope and, to my shock, there was a person lying there. It seemed they had tried to descend into the ravine and slipped. I quickly tied a lifeline to myself and climbed down to the ravine. The person who had fallen was an elderly man. "Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere?" He was barely conscious, but he told me that he had been lying there since the previous afternoon. He had broken his hip and leg, lost his smartphone during the fall, and was unable to get up. I immediately called the emergency services and, utilizing my nursing skills, began first aid. I moved him, warmed his chilled body soaked in the ravine, and addressed his fractures. As I desperately encouraged him, the rescue helicopter arrived. After seeing off the helicopter, I quickly descended the mountain. I had wanted to leisurely drink coffee at the summit, but I had lost too much time, so it couldn't be helped. Still, my heart was strangely filled with a sense of fulfillment. I had managed to save a person. This fact strengthened my heart. I thought, I really do love being a nurse. No matter what Kim says, I won't care anymore. From then on, even when Kim made snide remarks, I could let them slide. I even had the leeway to do something during her spiteful comments. 3 months later, the day of John and Kim's wedding finally came around. As expected of a doctor's wedding, the venue was bustling with hospital staff and was a lavish setting. After the chapel ceremony, we moved to the banquet hall. The guests invited on my brother's side included me and a few relatives, starting with our maternal aunt, who had cared for us since we were young. I had assumed I would be sitting with my aunt and the others, but my name tag was not on their table. After searching thoroughly, I found a small table set aside in a corner of the venue. That was my seat. This meant I was supposed to sit alone. Clearly, this must have been Kim's doing. My confused aunt suggested I come to sit at their table, but I declined and sat down at the single seat with a sigh. Eventually, the meal was served, but even that was of a lower grade than what the other guests received. All this effort. Yet, I stayed seated there. The reception proceeded smoothly, and then it was time for the candlelight service, where the bride and groom went around to chat with each table. It seemed that only then did my brother notice I was sitting alone. "Emma, what's this? Why are you sitting alone?" "Congratulations on your wedding day, John." "I don't know why I have this seat either," I answered calmly, and John turned to Kim. "Kim, I asked you to handle the seating, right? I told you to seat Emma with Aunt and the others." "Really? Did I?" Kim put on a fake show, prompting John to quickly respond. "Let's move her to my aunt's table now." "Emma, I'm really sorry." Before I could speak, Kim, in her wedding dress, snorted and said, Isn't it fine? One seat is just right for someone who didn't go to high school like you, huh? What? John was stunned, but his wife continued with a smirk. Having someone like her in the family is embarrassing, after all. You should be grateful I even prepared a seat. Kim finally revealed her true colors in front of my brother. I couldn't believe she would say such things during the wedding reception. I had reached my limit of patience. I absolutely had to say something. Just as I was about to stand up and speak, someone called out to me. "Excuse me, could you be?" I looked at the person and immediately recognized him. It was the elderly man I had saved during the mountain climb. I'm truly grateful for that time. I regretted not being able to thank you properly since I didn't even know your name. What? As Kim looked on in surprise, the elderly man deeply appreciated me. Then, John interjected in a hurry. "Sir, you know my sister." "Sir? He's the director of the hospital?" I exclaimed, while John and Kim looked bewildered. After the director explained the situation, he told my brother. To think that the person who saved my life was Mr. Foster's sister. What a coincidence this is. Then, the director glanced at my seat. "I'm curious, why is such a fantastic sister like yours just sitting here? The food she got isn't even close to as good as ours." Next to my brother, Kim's face turned pale. This was my moment. I pulled out my smartphone and played a recording for everyone to hear. "Keep quiet about your being a dropout, okay? It's really embarrassing to have such a sister-in-law like you. I'm going to live in luxury as a doctor's wife. But there will be no charity for a poor person like you. Just live your miserable life." The many insults Kim had hurled at me began to play. That's right, after regaining my self-confidence from the mountain incident, I had recorded all of Kim's remarks just in case. What is this? Is this Kim's voice? My brother looked shocked. I told him. "Yes, that's right, John. I have been treated like this. Even today, look at this situation." As I responded, my brother looked down and started to tremble. Kim clung to him. "John, wait. That's not how it is. This whole thing is her scheme. Be quiet." "Kim, I'm going to divorce you." "What? Divorce? Of course. Who could forgive what has been done to their only sister?" John looked furious. At the mention of divorce, Kim started to panic, saying, "Wait, what? What did you just say?" Then, the director intervened. "Actually, I've been investigating why the new medical administrative assistants keep quitting. Kim Anderson, it turns out you've been harassing these young women, as recent investigations have shown." "Sir?" Ignoring Kim's murmur, the director continued. "However, you were the wife of our ace, Mr. Foster. I was planning to let you off with a severe warning after the ceremony. There's no way I can forgive you for what you did to my lifesaver. It was a real eye-opener to see your true self. I'm letting you go right now." "What? You mean I'm fired? And a divorce? What is this, a joke?" Ignoring the frantic Kim, my brother announced in front of all the guests that he was divorcing and canceling the ceremony. Amid the murmurs of the venue, Kim sat down stunned, and I delivered the final blow. "It's all your own doing, isn't it? Goodbye, Kim. Though we'll probably never meet again." With that, I left the venue. Later, it seems that John and Kim's divorce was finalized. Kim persisted to the end, but John completely ignored her. Kim's harassment of the newcomers had been severe. And after she was fired, there were voices of gratitude toward the director at the scene. Thus, Kim lost both her job and her position as a doctor's wife, and was even disowned by her family. Moreover, she was struck by the cancellation fees for the lavish wedding. Now she is living in a shabby apartment, working in the nightlife to repay the debts she incurred. I thought my brother would be depressed after the broken engagement. But he was relieved, saying, "I'm glad I didn't marry such a person." As for me, I got recruited by the director and ended up working at the same hospital as my brother. I was given an important position, and my salary increased significantly, which was more than I could have wished for. In addition, the director brought me together with his son, referring to me as a matchmaker, and after a few dinners, he asked me to marry him. Moving forward, I intend to cherish those around me and walk a bright path in life.